with the radio audience in the borderland through the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. On Summons, we study the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, precept by precept. Please join us each weekday at 5 p.m. for Summons right here on KELP.
You are listening to KELP El Paso. Feed your mind, feed your soul at 1590 AM, 95.9 FM. Streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Oh, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Yeah.
This is episode 235 of the 915 Talk.
Whoa, 235.
235.
Wow, we've been busy.
Yeah. We continue on this educational journey. We're learning to love our city, love our neighbors, give God all the glory. Do you think we've learned everything there is to learn?
Oh, no, I don't think so. There's way more out there to learn about.
Yeah, you know, so you have 3 kids.
I do.
They're younger.
Yes, very young.
I think your kids are the most relaxed kids I've ever seen in my life.
What?
I'm serious.
Oh, man.
They just sit there and they just seem really content.
I would like to think that.
Yeah. My kids weren't like that so much at that age.
Oh, wow.
They were great kids. But I've just never seen kids that are that content.
Wow.
How old are your kids?
3, 2, and 4 months old.
Oh, wow. So you were not kidding when you said young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a relaxed, content 3-year-old, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of chill. They're reading their book, hanging out, listening to music.
Actually.
Nice.
What's your secret, Mac Daddy Del Norte?
Oh, man, I don't know. People do ask me this, but you know what? They're just church kids. That's all.
They're church kids.
Yes.
What's that mean?
Yeah, what that means is that they're used to having to be around us during like band practices, being settled down during the church message, not running around, standing up on pews, jumping off the stage. Like, we contain them.
We contain them.
As
we
in,
contain them.
Yes.
Container children.
Yeah.
Yes,
Contain your
that's
children, Mac Daddy. No, you go to 3 church services every weekend.
Yes, sir.
And they aren't short ones.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
They're pretty long. And they're long only because I have to be there even before the service starts, for practice, rehearsals,
yes.
etc. Then I'm there afterwards when everybody's gone because I'm picking up equipment, etc.
So it sounds like you have everything with parenting figured out.
Oh, no. I don't think so. I'm trying, but no. No, I do not.
Okay. Well, we're going to be learning about parenting today.
Okay.
And we've already heard our guest voice, so our regular listeners probably already know who it is.
Yeah.
But he's a very special guest.
Yeah, that is right.
Do you know why he's special?
Special why?
Yes, because he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Yes, he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. Also, he's the executive director over at Living Hope Counseling Service. They're right here in El Paso.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's a great group of people over there. And today we're going to be talking about parenting.
Okay.
My kids my youngest is a senior in high school. So I think I don't have to worry about parenting anymore.
You think
Well, it definitely shifts. That's for sure.
How's that for a joke of the day?
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to one, the only, Mr. Robert Hart. Robert, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah, wow. Parenting.
Big topic.
It's enormous topic.
And we will probably be leaving with more questions and answers today. So lest you set your expectations on, we're going to answer all the questions about parenting. Let me just dispel that myth right now. If your children make it into adulthood, you have successfully parented. Okay, so set the bar kind of low here.
Right, and we're kind of doing something new on this program. Historically, 915 Talk has not been a call-in radio show, but we're starting to open the phone lines more and more often, and we're going to do that today. So if someone's listening and they have a parenting question, they can give us a call at the station. We'll put them on air. It's 915-779-0016. If you have a parenting question, we'll talk about that. We'll chat for a minute.
How exciting.
Yeah.
Again, lower your expectations. This is a radio show. It is not therapy.
Right, for sure. But Robert, I think it is interesting to talk about these different seasons of parenting. We talked about how Mac Daddy just has these young kids, 3, 2, and 4 months.
Yep.
My kids are older. I even have a grandchild now. I look back at those early years, and I think my one regret I have is I was impatient.
Mm-hmm.
And it is stressful because it's like, what I learned is when you have 2 kids, I have 4, but when you have 2 kids, it's more than twice as much work than having one.
Yes.
And I guess at what point, I feel like this is a question I ask you every time you come in. At what point of stress should someone come to Living Hope Counseling Service?
Well, what's your stress level now on a scale of 1 to 10 when you even just think about, right, these parenting issues or concerns, particularly when you were a younger parent, right? How bad did your stress get on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the most.
Oh, I would say it was like a 5 or 6. It wasn't crazy.
Yep.
You know, I just wish I'd slowed down.
Sure.
You know, and enjoyed the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
by the way, this is also almost every parent's experience, what you're describing right there. When we're younger, especially if you start out having kids in your 20s and 30s, those aren't exactly the most particularly patient seasons of our life.
Oh, interesting.
Right? If you just think of it in terms of seasons of life, and now you are not in your 20s or 30s, because I can see you.
Yeah.
So you tend to look back and reflect and go, you know, if I had that to do over again, I'd probably do it with a little more of the mind and the brain and the experience I have now. But you didn't have that back then, did you?
No. So you're saying you're saying when you're in your 20s, which I was.
Yep.
You're just not patient.
Often that is the case. We're not too patient.
And suddenly your home is bombarded
yes.
with a requirement for patience, and a clash happens.
You bet. That happens to almost all of us. And, you know, again, if your kid's made out of this alive, you probably did okay. So, and your last one is still in high school. So, but you know, I think a question worth asking, and this is something that we don't do often in parenting, which is, what's the objective of parenting?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
What is it? What was it for you?
Well, that's a great question. I sometimes laugh, and this isn't a new joke or anything, but like, to drive a car, you have to go to driver's ed.
Sure.
You have to pass a test.
Mm-hmm.
The bar for becoming a parent is incredibly low.
It is.
and there's no requirement. And I remember, I think most parents have this experience. You know, you're at the hospital, the baby's been born, and they're like, you can go now. And you're like, with the baby? Like, you're going to just let us take them?
Yep. And
so I don't know that at that point in time I had really thought that through. I think it was, I want to have a family. I want to be a part of something bigger. I want to have shared experiences.
Yep.
And I grew up in a big family. I thought it was great.
Sure.
Both my wife and I thought, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a very good answer.
Well, and the truth is, I think that's probably what most of us went through. Did anybody, when you started thinking about having kids or started having kids, ever just slow down and ask you that question? Like, hey, what's the point of having kids? Right? I bet nobody did.
No.
Right? Like, what's the objective here? And that's, I think a lot of times what makes it so challenging is, what else in life do we do without really having an objective in it?
Oh, interesting.
Right? Like you didn't start coming on 915 without an objective, did you?
Well, you don't.
Well, some would question
that. No, I'm joking. Of course, there was an objective.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. I suppose you're exactly right. A lot of people have kids and don't think about a vision for it, a goal for it.
Yeah.
It's
Just
my
have 'em.
wife and I love each other, and
Yep.
let's do more of this with more people.
Correct. Yeah. And obviously, maybe it's even less without being too inappropriate, but it's like maybe you just really enjoyed your wife and didn't think of the consequences of that. And then here come the children.
Yeah,
right?
history is silent on the matter.
Yes. So, but I try to get folks, I think the biblical and Christian aspect of what our objective is in raising kids is really to form loving attachments with them in the same way we're supposed to be forming loving attachments with God and with one another. And, and to do that effectively, I think it's helpful if you have some knowledge and understanding of developmental stages and things like that. But if we lose sight of our objective, it is really super easy to become impatient, right? If I forget that my objective here is to maintain a strong relationship with this other person, if I'm supposed to be, right, I think the probably most commonly uttered phrase that I've heard in Christendom about parenting is our job description is to train up a child in the way they should go, right? That's our objective, to train them up in the way they should go so that when they're old, they're not departing from it, right? We're supposed to pass on the moral compass. We're supposed to help them survive. But I think when you take a little bit of a closer look at that, you'll find there's more to it than just simply having them memorize the 10 Commandments and, right? Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. There's a little more to it than that. But at the end of the day, how we love our kids teaches them a lot. And, I thought as a broad subject, certainly if anybody calls in today, I'm hopeful that we can kind of talk through some different scenarios and different ways that we do relationally care for and love our kids that lead them to a better relationship with us and a better relationship with the Lord. So,
yeah, great. And again, 915-779-0016. If you do have a parenting question, we'll put you on the air and you have a little chat. You talk about developmental stages. So that's something I've heard about before. I have a vague understanding of it.
Yeah.
Can you speak into that?
Well, sure. I mean, Mac Daddy was talking earlier about having really young kids, all of them preschool aged, right? You've got at least one that has no language skills at all, right? The infant.
Sure.
The 3-year-old presumably has some basic language, but not much more than that. So, we're probably not going to be teaching the 3-year-old quantum physics just yet. Although I did hear him say that the 3-year-old was reading, which was quite impressive.
Yes.
Right? Not a lot of 3-year-olds read.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
2 years.
2 years?
3
yeah.
and 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the 2-year-old is just forming language. And so, part of our job, I think, as parents is recognizing that when kids enter into the world, they really have almost no thinking abilities, but they possess all of the emotional abilities, right? They know fear, they know sadness, they know anger, they know happiness. I think our jobs as parents at that point is to be so attuned to our children that we let them know that we're here. There's a Christian psychiatrist named Kurt Thompson, who wrote a book called The Soul of Shame. He also wrote The Anatomy of the Soul, several books. Great author. But he talks about this idea that we all come into the world looking for those who are looking for us. Because,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, like if you
say
think
that
about,
again.
Yeah, we all come into the world looking for those who are looking for us. Because, these little helpless infants, they cannot make it without us. So if they come into the world and there's no one there looking for them, and there's no one there kind of, hey, I'm happy to see you, well, they start to formulate some ideas of how the world is.
Right.
And our brains are so amazing. God crafted our brains in such a way that, and I think you and I joked about this last time, our brains are so incredibly efficient. How many times falling off the sofa does it take before your brain and your body recognizes, oh, that's probably going to hurt?
Once.
Usually,
Yeah.
right, once. And I think last time you joked, well, it may have taken me 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But like, think of that. You're now, how old are you, Andy?
49.
You are almost 50 years old.
Almost.
And you only had to learn that lesson once in your entire life, and it stuck with you.
Right.
That is such a powerful thing in our brains. What happens when, these little ones learn things maybe that aren't accurate, but like, hey, nobody's looking for me? I mean, what a powerful message that as a parent, we want to help craft that narrative inside of our kids, because that's not true, right? And not because parents are evil. No, most parents that I'm aware of, and by most I mean like 99%. It's 1% that actually do not want their children. Okay, for the 99% that do in fact want our children, we want to help prevent that message and or correct it if they get it, right? And so when you think about development, I always think of it in terms of, okay, well, what is this person's developmental stage? And like 0 to 5 is an entire developmental stage where all sorts of things happen, right? Kids learn language, they learn mobility, they learn concepts, they learn how to control their body and the environment around them. Huge things happen in those first 5 years. So parenting during those years, I would hope if we have a purpose to develop a relationship, it's going to help our kids grow up feeling safe, seen, secure, and the ability to be seen and soothed by others, particularly our parents.
Yeah, and putting all this together, those first 5 years, and I would say probably in the first few months, the child is starting to get an understanding, are these people looking for me?
Yeah.
Are they waiting for me truly?
For sure.
And I would wonder for those parents who are listening, and I would say that those who are listening are of the 99% because they're listening this far to our conversation.
Yes.
They truly do want their children to know that they're seeking them out, that they're waiting for them, that they're looking for them. But we can be reminded of mistakes where we missed out on that.
Yeah.
And how do you sort of repair that?
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about that, but we do need to take a break.
Great.
Before we take the break, I'm also kind of curious when it comes to parenting, just off the top of your head, why do folks come to Living Hope with a parenting question?
Sure. Well, lots of different reasons, but I can say the most common that I've seen is when children, and I'm planning to spend probably the significant amount of time of our show today talking about what to do about this, but a lot of times parents will or families will come to Living Hope when they're having difficulties with their children, basically following the rules, right?
Oh, interesting.
So it's like when you say to, your son, hey, mijo, I need you to stop hitting your sister. And he looks you in the face and turns around and pops her again. And you're like, So why would he continue to do that when he sees that his sister is hurt and I have told him not to?
Yeah.
Those types of issues we often see. Now, certainly compliance for sure. Sometimes we see other things when kids are in their adolescence, which that looks a little different. Compliance issues like, hey, you need to come in by curfew. You need to put your phone away when it's bedtime. Those types of issues.
Sure.
And so, but I would say those are usually the primary reasons we see families and kids at Living Hope. Now, certainly there are kids further on the spectrum that have been perhaps traumatized or abused in some capacity, and we do see and help some of those. But mainly it's for parenting issues like we're talking about here. Like, how do I help my kid see the value of what I'm trying to teach them rather than dismiss me and learn it the hard way.
Oh, interesting. And you're going to give us the key to fix that.
Sure.
All right. And again, we're with Robert Hart. He's with Living Hope Counseling Service right here in El Paso. If you do have a question for him, maybe related to compliance, the phone number is 915-779-0016. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or isolated? Sometimes life struggles can feel too heavy to bear alone. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, grief, relationship problems, or spiritual challenges, our Christian counselors at Living Hope provide a safe, confidential space to explore your concerns through a faith-centered approach. Let us help you navigate life's toughest moments with Christ's love guiding the way. Give us a call today at 915-772-2237. Healing begins with a single step. Take yours today.
915.
Testify.
When I was 11 years old, my parents had an abusive relationship that ended with a divorce. My father began drinking excessively and my mother left us. I took responsibility for my siblings, but in the process, I built up aggression and anger because I didn't have a normal teenage life. I began fighting and got kicked out of school. My last fight led to charges being pressed against me. I was on the path to juvenile. Thankfully, it did not go any further. I was giving community hours. In search of a place that could help me, I ended up in church. During the worship practices, I fell in love with the music they played for God. I was asked if I wanted to sing with the band. I automatically said yes. I married the worship leader and now have 2 beautiful kids. God rescued me from the dark path I was on and molded me to the wife and mother I am today. He brought the peace that I was in search of during my teenage years. My name is Jeanette Delgado. If God did this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
Desertvoice.media.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're with Robert Hart of Living Hope Counseling Service. We're talking about parenting. And during the break, we talked about so many other things, and I'm realizing this could be a 500-part series.
It can be. It's what we're going to talk about every time we get together now.
But I asked the question, you talked about that first stage in life, or really it's all the stages in life, where we come into the world looking for the people who are looking for us.
Correct.
And just quickly, if that's even possible, or briefly, if you begin to understand that maybe you were really busy during those first couple years of a child's life and you missed out on a couple things, even though you care about your child so deeply.
Yep.
What are some steps to start taking?
Well, I mean, first of all, just have some grace and mercy for yourself as a parent in this, because listen, is a parent actively joyful and happy looking for their child who's screaming in the middle of the night because they soiled their diapers? Probably not. And so in that moment, when you come to render aid to your infant who is either hungry or soiled or scared for some reason in the middle of the night, you probably are going to miss it right there.
Yeah.
And this is where I often remind folks, right, what you do isn't nearly as important as what you do after you did what you did, right?
Okay.
So, meaning the repair is a better skill set as a parent to have than the prevention. Now, is prevention nice? Of course it is. And we can prevent some of the challenges and conflicts that go on in all of the stages, which I thought it might be beneficial to backtrack a little bit and actually just give you a brief overview of all the stages of development in childhood or really throughout the lifetime. But listen, how you work to repair them is really what, if we want to put it in Christian spiritual language, it's what progressive sanctification is all about.
Okay.
Right? It's not like you're going to get it the first time, but what you do after is the progressive part of it, right?
Okay.
The very first stage in life, and by the way, this is put together by Eric Erickson, who's a much smarter person than I am. He has put together 9 stages over the lifetime of development. The first one being infancy, 0 to 1 years, and the thing that gets established or not during that is trust. Either the baby develops trust or mistrust in their caregivers, right? And we're all imperfect parents. So the question is, how much trust or how much mistrust does this baby experience? And how does that manifest as they grow older? The second developmental stage is toddlerhood, 1 to 3. That's where they learn things like autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, again, that's kind of depends on how successful they are socially, because they begin to socialize, they begin to get some independence and learn self-control, or that gets thwarted somehow. And again, because we're imperfect parents, a lot of times we see our kids doing stuff and they mess up and we come over and we correct them, but how we correct them sends them a message, right? Preschool is the next stage of development. That's going to be initiative versus guilt. It's usually 3 to 6 years of age. That's where children begin asserting power. That's going to be where you hear no a lot, right? Because they're trying to figure out what they can and can't do, what they can get away with versus what they cannot.
Right. And I think one of the reasons it's so important to talk about these stages is what I hear you saying is if you have a 4-year-old who's saying no, that's normal.
Yes, it is. Well,
and what you do with it next is a different
that's correct
subject.
Well, and one of the things that as parents we often forget, that one of the primary ways that we love our kids, one of the primary ways that we help them grow and develop is that we use self-control. We don't simply try to control our children and make them have and use self-control while we're out of control with our impatience or anger or frustration, right?
Yeah.
And as parents, we forget that. We forget, oh yeah, I'm the adult here. I should have control of myself,
first,
not of the circumstance. Right. Because again, one of the main things that I've really enjoyed learning and coming to terms with as both a Christian and as a parent is the idea that if our relationship with God is kind of the model for how we're supposed to parent, wasn't it God that actually placed the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden?
Yes.
Like he placed it there, and he could have placed it somewhere outside the garden and said, don't leave the garden, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He could have put a wall of the infamous hedge of protection around it, right? But he did not.
Right.
God put it there. We as parents often try to do all of those other things to prevent our children from learning and making mistakes. Now, obviously, you don't let a 3-year-old decide for themselves if playing on I-10 is fun or not, because the consequences and the stakes are too high at that point, because that can kill them.
Sure.
But, letting them break their toy, okay. Letting them fail a class, things like that. As parents, we are often trying to protect our children from consequences. Meanwhile, they don't then learn. So some of the corrective steps here in terms of helping kids develop a sense of autonomy is allowing them to fail. And that starts showing up as early as 3 to 4 years old, right?
Wow.
So
yeah, I just want to underline what you said. What I heard you say was, as parents, we shouldn't always be protecting our children from consequences.
absolutely not. Yeah.
And I'm gonna
Yeah, we can dive into that.
make a generalization here.
Yeah.
But it's when we were kids.
Sure.
If we got in trouble at school, when we got in home, we got in trouble again.
Yes, we did. And along the way, right?
Yes.
If we had good neighbors.
Absolutely. And now if we get in trouble at school, the school gets in trouble.
Yeah.
And the child is often protected from the consequence.
Correct.
And I often look at that and I think, so what if your kid got in trouble?
Yeah.
Let them get in trouble.
Yep.
Move
And let
on.
them experience the consequences of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it's not the end of the world.
Correct. Well, and I often remind parents when I'm meeting with them, listen, would you rather your 10 to 12-year-old get these consequences, or would you rather them experience similar consequences when they're 30 and 35?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the consequences then are much different and much worse.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're just joining us, we're with Robert Hart of Living Hope Counseling Service. We did have a question come in. We're about to go into the we're about to go into the traffic break.
Okay.
I'll give you the question
the
before
question,
before
yes.
the break, so you can have a moment to think about it. If a spouse has an affair, is it good to tell the kids the truth or withhold it?
Great question.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after the break. If someone does have a question for Robert, you can call in 915-779-0016. But right now we have Charlie 1 on the phone. Charlie 1, what are you seeing out on the roads this afternoon?
Not too bad, Andy, because of the holiday impacts traffic in a positive way, because normally at this time I see a lot of congestion there at I-10 Secopia. Not right now. It's moderate traffic right there at I-10 Secopia, where I see more traffic, kind of like maybe crowding on the lanes, is around I-10 and Litorino. That's because at I-10 East and Litorino, they take away the right lane. Gateway West and Lubaland take away the entrance ramp. So that area right there, under a little bit of congestion, it's not going to bog you down too much. You're going to get through there, just a little bit of a slope. But on the Upper Valley, a couple of things here. North Desert and Aircraft, we have a crash. PD on that. This one, Trans Mountain and Northwestern crash, that one happened, and PD not there yet. They're en route, Trans Mountain and Northwestern. Andy, back to you.
Charlie 1, this afternoon we have Robert Hart with us. He's with Living Hope Counseling Service here in El Paso, and we're talking about parenting. And one of the things with parenting is we can often become impatient. There can be a lot of stress, and so many people go to the wrong answers to overcome that stress. But really, one of the best ways to become more patient with our children, I believe, is with a bowl of menudo. Where would you recommend folks try out that bowl of menudo?
I'll get to that. And, parenting, I don't think there's a manual for that, an instruction book for that, so kind of have to, it's a lot of, well, with me, it was trial by error. So, it's, you learn to be a good parent. I don't think you're born with those skills, but you learn. But right now we have, it's a good place to go get the menudo, because you can just take it home and take it with you. That Seaside Choice Meats, they have that 32-ounce menudo, and that's good, delicious stuff, because it's homemade. Just there, pick it up, 32-ounce menudo, take it home, and you can eat it, put it in the micro, and enjoy it whenever you want to. Eastside Choice Meats, Lomaland, and Traywood, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie 1. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
Robert, would you like to chime in on the role of menudo in parenting?
No comment. It's an excellent way to weave that in.
Yeah, it's always a challenge for me each day. How can I weave menudo into the conversation?
Yes.
But we were talking about these stages of parenting or human development, really.
Correct.
Yeah. But we did have a question come in. If you could kind of speak into this.
Sure. Should you or should you not? Or how do you talk about the basically breakup of a family due to an affair?
Yes.
And like literally, I have this issue brought up probably at least once a month. It happens to be that in February, that would be last week. I literally had a family sitting in front of me, and this was the question at hand. And
do we tell the kids?
Yes.
About the failure or the mistake or
sure. Well,
the sin.
The issue, in my mind, first, I guess I see a little decision tree in front of me. Step number one is, are you going to stay in the marriage? If you are, that is adult business. That is not kids' business. So you don't bring the children in if you're planning to stay in the marriage and work on it.
Oh, interesting.
So that there's your first kind of matrix or metrics there that I would measure that on. The second one is, listen, if you're going to be divorcing because of this, obviously at some point the kids are going to be like, hey, mom and dad, why are you no longer together? Why is dad living in an apartment? Or why is mom going back to Georgia? At that point, you just have to be, again, developmentally appropriate in what you tell the kids. Because, again, unless they're older adolescents, we're back in this is adult business category. If your family goes bankrupt, how much of that do you share with your children? Mm-hmm. Right? That's adult problems, not kid problems.
Not passing the stress on to little kids.
So you tell them at the level that A, they can understand, and B, that which is appropriate. So if the marriage is ending because of this, you communicate to the children, the younger ones, well, certainly all the kids, you want to communicate to them, this has nothing to do with you, even though they're not going to believe that, because every kid thinks the world is always about them. And so they're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I remember that time when mom and dad yelled because of a problem I was causing. Oh my gosh, I wonder if that's why they're breaking up now. You do your best to reassure your kids that it's not about that, but as they get older, more information will be discussed when they're ready for it.
Yeah.
So it's what again is developmentally appropriate. Certainly, if something were happening in Mac Daddy's family, at his kid's age, I would not say anything to any of those kids about that, because that's, again, these are adult problems, not 3 and younger problems at all.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. There's the very obvious piece that you put in there. If you're sticking it out, there's no reason to bring any of this up with the kids.
Correct.
And the second part for sure was, if you're getting a divorce because of the infidelity, if nothing else, let the kids know that the divorce was not because of them.
Correct.
And then over time, more information will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. That's a heavy question. I can only imagine how many you're bombarded with each week with your work. But we've been talking about just these developmental stages. Where were we at?
We were at the preschool 3 to 6. Or actually starting school, right? Initiative versus guilt. It's kids developing their social skills. At that point, let's see, we get into full-on school age, 6 to 12, right? That developmental stage, the mastery is usually over industry versus inferiority. It's where kids kind of start finding out what they're good at, right? Now, unfortunately, in our current schools, there's a lot of pressure that starts in that zone where people are like, okay, not only what do you want to be when you grow up, let's go ahead and start getting you enrolled in early college classes and things like that. It's like, whoa.
It's like I'm 7.
Yeah, like slow down. I'm in 4th grade here. So I don't really know. But it's where kids do start to see if they've got an interest in and skills in, math skills, relational skills, mechanical skills, verbal and language skills, those kinds of things. And so then you get into adolescence, and of course this one I think is a big topic for our culture, because in some ways our culture is stuck in this category. It's identity versus role confusion, right? This is where often kids start trying to say, hey, is it okay for me to have an opinion in life that's different than my parents.
Oh.
Right. And this is going to be like, again, adolescence, 12.
Do they actually ask that question, or they just declare?
Well, usually all the questioning goes on the inside. It is definitely typically a declarative or an acted out version, right? I'll show you what I believe by my actions. But it's pretty common. And that's probably where I usually see younger parents with the younger kids really worried, like, Mija, she's pushing all her friends around and kind of being a bully. What do I do to kind of get her into line with the younger kids? But in adolescence, the role confusion is a big one that comes up a lot these days, especially since we have a culture that basically says you get to declare how you identify, right? If you want to declare yourself as identifying as a female, even though your birth certificate and your gene structure says differently, we have a culture that embraces that now. Mm-hmm. Well, some of that's actually fairly normal to be confused and or to be exploring when you get into adolescence. I think we got to be careful here that you don't take major steps and say, okay, you want to be that? Well, let's get some medical procedures done. Let's go get hormone replacement therapy for a teenager because they are saying that this is who they think they are right now. Because
going back to this part where I say what I'm hearing you say is,
yes,
it's normal during that time to question
absolutely
who you are.
Absolutely.
And as the parent, one of the main things is to make sure that they don't act out too far on that, or how would you define that?
I would say your number one job as a parent is not to freak out about that. Okay. Remember the self-control?
Right.
Yeah. It's like I maintain self-control, recognizing that no adolescent knows who the heck they are or what they're going to be 20 years from now.
Sure.
It's a developmentally malleable and flexible period of growth and development in our brain and in our bodies. Mm-hmm. And so to be confused about it and or to explore and to be extreme in those explorations is absolutely typical, right? One of the strategies that I have, hopefully it's not too soon to be dropping this, but it's like you said, this is going to be a 50-part series, perhaps. But it's like one phrase that as a parent, I encourage parents to get really familiar and comfortable with saying is like, oh, okay. Just how about that? Right? When your kid makes an outrageous statement, and of course everything in you wants to go, but what about this? And you can't. And how about, that's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk for hours about that. What is the level of control as a parent that we're called to as believers in Christ?
And again, I would say, and I've messed this up, by the way, Andy. I know we texted right before the show, and I said, just as long as you don't ask me what I actually did in my own parenting. I was an imperfect parent too, and I still am. I got a 16-year-old at home right now that I'm still parenting, like your high schooler as well. And one of the things I have to regularly do is come back and work to repair that relationship, because I don't necessarily always use self-control. And I have to come back and take responsibility and take accountability for that.
Sure.
Again, that's me modeling to them what to do when you screw up. Right. So, but one of the things I'm really pleased to be reminded of when you say, what's the degree and what's the level of control? Well, God could have controlled us in the garden. Mm-hmm. He could have not put that tree of temptation right there, but he didn't. He really gave us freedom to choose and sadly to have the consequences of it. And that's where I think as parents, we get to be the privilege and bearers of responsibility to allow our children, even though it pains us, to experience consequences to their actions. And that means we have to swallow our pride and go, really? So you're going to have green hair and you represent my family. That's hard for a lot of parents. They're like, you will not represent our family that way.
Yeah.
Well, so then once it's done, I mean, are you going to hold your kid down and shave their head? Right? I don't know.
Right. And I think one of the lessons I learned, I had a great mentor early on in ministry, was understanding the difference between principle and preference. And most of the things we get upset about actually are not principle. They're just what we prefer.
Sure.
And so...
and I'm pretty good with my words. I can turn it into a principle. But it's usually back down to my preference.
Yeah. So we kind of went through quickly some of these developmental stages. I think the big deal with talking about those is just understanding that a lot of the behavior of our children is normal for their age.
Correct.
And then what? And I feel like we could have many more conversations about that. But earlier on in the program, you said that the number one reason, or one of the main reasons why folks come into Living Hope Counseling for parenting counseling is some non-compliance from the youngsters.
Correct.
So what's the secret to making your children do what you want them to do, Robert Hart?
Well, this is simple yet very complicated.
Okay.
Or simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Right? It really does boil down to choices.
Okay.
Again, if I keep going back to Genesis, Genesis is the bedrock principle of kind of how we are to be in life. God created us. He wants us to really share with him in his divine nature. He wants us to share dominion over the earth. He wants us to share in creation with our kids and the things that he has provided us with, but he gives us choices. We often fail to give our kids choices. Now, here's the good thing about being a parent. We always must give our kids choices, but we don't have to be fair about it. And when I say give our kids choices, is this really a choice? Clean your room, or you're grounded for 2 weeks and then you still have to clean your room. Is that really a choice?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not. Certainly not from the kid's perspective, and in real life. You've just issued a commandment.
Sure.
The very nature of relationships is there's always choice involved, and getting very familiar as parents with giving our kids choices maintains the relationship, and it allows them to grow and develop into individuals who make great choices, not perfect, but make great choices when they get older. So, and it starts when they're really young. If you've already missed that window and your kids are adolescents, don't worry. You can still start it now. It'll feel a little wonky at first, but choices look a lot like this. Hey, do you want to walk yourself to the car, or do you want me to carry you to the car? Now, did you notice there's a choice there, but neither of them involves not going to the car, right? So we're going to the car, but I'm going to give you a choice of how you get there, right? Would you like to do your homework before dinner or after dinner? Do you notice that I didn't give you a choice not to do your homework?
Right.
But I am giving you some autonomy there. And as parents, we often fail to do that. And when we fail to give our kids choices, they create them. They create the choices. And that's now where we get into the conflict, the power struggle that you were talking about earlier, which is my preferences are that you do your homework immediately when you get home from school. But that's just a preference. That's not a decree. That's not a moral or spiritual issue. It's just a preference.
Yeah.
But now I get into a power struggle, and it damages my relationship with my kid when I try to make them into something that they're not. Which really takes us back to that verse we started off the show today with, which is train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. There's two complementary views on what that actually means. I think the most common in evangelical circles is, we train our kids up, we instruct them morally. right? And spiritually, we educate them. And when they're old, that education and training will be a part of who they are. There is some wisdom and truth in that. The complementary side to that we sometimes forget is that God has fashioned us in the womb. Like he made you, Andy, a specific way. He created you. And if I'm your parent, I need to figure out how God created you. And then I need to work with that. You know, some people are really, 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 accuracy is super important to them.
Okay.
These are not people who are involved in the arts. Okay.
Yeah.
These are people who, like, when you say, oh, you know, we went to this such and such a town on this date and we did such and such, they'll go, no, we did not go on that date. It's like in their DNA.
Yeah.
As a parent, I don't need to like try to punish you or, you know, scare that out of you. I need to work with that and go, hey, you know what? You really have a knack for details. I'm glad you did that. Now I need you not to interrupt me with those kinds of pieces of information. You need to wait till the story's over, but I appreciate your accuracy there. Yeah. That's training up a child in the way they should go, because that's how God fashioned them. That's, I think, a big part of our job as parents is to attune to our kids and figure out, well, how did God make them and how do I work with you in this way? And probably, again, one of the biggest ways I can do that is to give you choices. And that list is infinite, right? Again, do you want to sit in the front seat or the back seat?
Right.
You know, do you want to wear your red coat? Do you want to wear your furry coat? Right.
But you're going to wear a coat.
But exactly. Yeah. It's like kids, when you give them choices, they often make really good ones. It's when we don't give them choices that they often start really pushing and creating choices of their own that often don't go with what it is we hope they'll learn and grow.
Right. So let's use the example of homework.
Yes.
The kids.
This is fresh. This is right on your mind, is it not?
No, it's interesting. I have two kids who are absolute straight A students.
Oh, awesome.
And the straight A students, I give a hard time. Like, I saw you had a 99. What's going on? Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about that one point.
Yeah. And then I have
now they know you're joking, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise they will end up in my office one day. 99 was not good enough for my daddy.
And then I have two kids who are not straight A students, and we just enjoy talking about that as a family. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
But it's interesting. None of my kids did homework the way I thought it should be done.
Yep.
Including the straight A students.
Yep.
And I look at that, and so I'm looking at that as kind of a hypothetical. I know it's going to get done.
Yep.
But I want it to be done already. And I think that's a big part of the issue is, like, I want it done now. Delayed obedience is disobedience.
Preference versus principle.
Yeah. But do it now is what's on my mind.
Yep.
And so what you're saying is you could do it before dinner or after dinner.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful to say, how would you like to do your homework? Or is that giving them too much?
That's not really a choice necessarily, because they may come up with the unrealistic scenario.
Yeah.
Right? How would you like to do your homework? Depending upon the age of the kids, I think it's totally appropriate to bring them into the conversation. But like, if you're wanting them to do it at a specific time, the phrase that pays is, so pick two examples of a location where they could do their homework that you're okay with. So when you get home from school, would you like to do your homework at the kitchen table, or would you like to do it back in your room? Hey, or would you like to do it in the living room versus doing it in the backyard?
While you're doing your homework, would you like to wear your fur coat or your...
There you go. And sometimes it's ridiculous, but get in the habit of putting choices in front of our kids, because it not only helps them to start seeing that they have choices to be made, but then when they don't do it, who's responsible?
Yeah.
Them.
Right.
They see it because they're like, well, dang, I picked that one, but that didn't work out. I guess I should have picked the other one.
Right.
Isn't that a great thinking skill and a great problem-solving skill you want your kids to develop?
Sure.
Yeah. And then, it maintains this relationship or attachment that you have with your kids, because then when they make a bad choice, you get to actually care about them more than the bad choice they made. Gosh, that really stinks that you missed your football game because you didn't do your homework.
Yeah.
I'm really sad for you. I love giving choices, especially when kids come at you at the last minute with issues like, hey, Dad, I need you to take me to Walmart because I got this project due tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to be dressed as Christopher Columbus in the morning.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, wonder how that's going to work out for you. Yeah. What kind of things you got in your closet?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, here's kind of what I think is a big question, and maybe I'm asking this because of the age of my children, but at what point do you not worry about compliance anymore and they're completely left up to the consequences?
Certainly when they are completely independent, but I think that transition starts in adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
I think usually about 14, 15, 16, right in there. As parents, your role in your kid's life really should pretty significantly shift from I'm going to tell my kids what they can or cannot do to helping my kids understand their own thinking as to how they came to the conclusions they're coming to.
Okay.
Because what new information are you going to impart to your children 14, 15, 16 that you have not already said 1,000 times? Right?
Right.
Let's face it, at that point, what your goal is very different. I don't need to educate a 14, 15, 16-year-old on much of anything at this point, but helping them to figure out, tell me how you thought that would be a good idea to drink and then drive with your friends after the football game last Friday.
Yeah.
Help me understand that, because I want to know.
Yeah.
You clearly didn't just show up and it happened
What was
spontaneously.
your thought process? What happened?
That's correct. So as opposed to, I cannot believe you did that. We've told you should never do that. You should have called an Uber. Well, your kid's not listening at that point.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey, help me understand what you're thinking. Asking questions as opposed to imparting information is probably the biggest shift. And that usually happens, again, middle adolescence. And then when they launch, like, wow, tell me what you're doing now.
Yeah.
How are you going to recover from that?
Yeah.
That may be something on your permanent record now.
Right.
Yikes.
And we at the beginning of the program, we talked about train up a child in the way they should go. And when they're old, they won't depart from it. And there have been times where I've been concerned and frustrated with my kids. And what I've remembered is when they're old.
Yes, that's what a lot of us parents say. Maybe when they're my age, they'll get it.
Robert, appreciate you coming in. I feel like we're going to have a lot more conversations in the future about parenting. It was good to start to scratch the surface today.
You bet. I look forward, and hopefully we'll get some callers calling in.
Yeah. Also shout out to Living Hope Counseling Service. And I know you work on the finances with the folks who come in. I have some very good friends who went to Living Hope and found out that you accept insurance, and there was just a little copay involved.
We do.
But folks can reach out to you, 915-772-2237. Living Hope Christian Counseling Service right here in El Paso. What a resource for our community. Thanks again, Robert.
You bet.
As we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbors. And I'll add today, let's learn to love our children and our parents and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. To listen to this or any previous edition of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media and click on the 915 Talk link.
Let's continue to learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
This is Pastor Steve Castrita. I'd like to extend the invitation for you to join us